In this video, we're going to explore tables. Although most users prefer Microsoft Excel or other spreadsheet software options for tables, they do have a place in Microsoft Word. The tables available in Microsoft Word are far less powerful than those of spreadsheets, but they get the job done. And because of the differences between Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel, there are formatting controls in Word that are either impractical or impossible in Excel. These tools make it easy for users to create tables that are functional and aesthetically pleasing. Let's start with the basics. Inserting a table in Word is pretty easy. Just position the cursor where you want the table, select the Insert tab from the ribbon, then select this button to insert a table. Word will use a graphical interface to ask you how many rows and columns. You can start with a single cell and a single row, or go as high as 10 columns by 8 rows. Depending on the version you're using, Word should generate a preview of this table before you commit to a selection. For reference, Microsoft Office products call the vertical axis lines columns and the horizontal axis lines rows. There are some other options you can see from the drop-down menu. For example, you can draw your own table. This feature puts the table exactly where you want it, but I recommend inserting a table in a blank space rather than on any text. Inserting a table by drawing will push the text around, and it may not push the text you want to move. Another option is to insert an Excel spreadsheet. This is a great option that I'll discuss in a different video because for this video, I want to focus on tables native to Microsoft Word. For now, I'm going to demonstrate a simple table with 4 columns and 7 rows plus a header row. First, I'll go to the Insert tab. I'll select the Table button. Then I select the option of 4 columns and 8 rows, which gives me 7 rows for data and 1 row for header information. Through the magic of editing, I'm going to populate this table with some data. Another option is to select this button, which allows you to do pretty much the same thing, but also specify the column width. I never use this, and instead I add rows or columns as I need them, and then adjust the sizes. This option is there, and it's pretty easy. Something we need to discuss at this point is that Microsoft Word uses contextual tabs for tables. You may be asking, what the heck are contextual tabs? These options you see at the top of my screen, File, Home, Insert, and so forth, are tabs on the ribbon. Normally these tabs are all you see, but there are other tabs that appear based on what you have selected. When a table is selected, either by selecting the table or positioning the cursor anywhere inside the table, these 2 tabs appear on the ribbon. Tabs like this are called contextual tabs because they're only visible when an appropriate element is selected. Tables have 2 contextual tabs that do different things. The first is the Table Design tab. As you might guess from the name, this tab provides various options to help you design your table. It includes things like whether you have a header row or a first column, which gives them special formatting, the style for your table, shading, and setting borders. The other tab is the Table Layout. This tab has controls for inserting and deleting rows, splitting the table, splitting and merging cells, alignment of cells, and cell margins, just to name a few. Let's make some changes so you can see what's happening. First, I'm going to apply a style to my table. Because this table has both header row and first column checked on the Table Style Options group, Word will treat that row and column differently when it applies the style. So I come over here and I select this button to give me some options for my table style. As you can see, Word applies special formatting to the first column, even if the theme doesn't show it in the preview. If I want to turn that off, all I need to do is deselect the first column box or the header row box, and the formatting immediately changes. One thing I want to note is that if you're using a Microsoft Word installation provided by your employer, they may have installed various styles that you should be using or that they want you to use. This is made available for both consistency and managing brand standards. I've worked for a few large companies, and there is usually good information available to help you access and use these standard templates. So now that I've got this table, what do I do with it? Well, for starters, I can sort the information just like I would in Excel. For this table, let's say I want to sort by author, which is column 2. All I have to do is select the table, select the Table Layout tab from the ribbon, and then select the Sort button from the Data group. Word gives me a pop-up window, then I can select the column I want to sort using this drop-down list under Sort By. For this demonstration, I'm going to sort using text and ascending. I select OK and the table sorts. Now let's say I want to sort by review date. It's similar. I select the sort button from the data group on the table design tab of the ribbon. I select column 4 since that has the dates I'm using. Word automatically changes the type to date, and I leave this radio button on ascending. Select the OK button and voila. I'm going to pull the sort feature up again to show you something you may have missed. Here at the bottom, there's an option to select whether your list has a header row. So let's try this sorting feature again. I select column 2 again, but instead of ascending, I'm going to use descending. With no header row selected, you can see the order is not quite what I was hoping for. This happens despite my table being configured with a header row and first column. So to correct this, I'll use Control Z to undo the sort, and then I'll reperform the sort selecting the header row option. And now I have a properly sorted table. When you're managing your tables, you will likely spend time getting the column width just right. Although dragging the column margins is effective, it is not precise. This can present a challenge if you have multiple tables and need them all to look the same. My preference in managing column sizes is to use the table properties and manually set the column width. To do this, start by selecting your table. On the Table Layout tab, select the Properties button from the table group, then select the column header. From here, you can set the size of each column precisely. Be sure to note which column you're affecting. When you first come to this menu, usually columns will be shown, and if you make adjustments now, the program will apply your selection to all the columns in your table, which is rarely desired. Select Next Column or Previous Column and set the width of each as desired, but be sure the total of your columns does not exceed the margins of your document. Another important aspect of configuring your tables is setting the layout within the cells. Generally, Microsoft Word will configure cells to align text to the upper and left. To change this alignment, just go to the Table Layout tab, find the alignment group, and select the orientation you want. To make this change for multiple cells, simply select the cells, rows, or columns and make the same change. You may note that selecting to have cells centered vertically in the cell doesn't actually center them. Now, this is because of the default paragraph spacing. In order to ensure your text is actually centered vertically, first select the affected text or cells. Go to the Home tab and either pop out the Paragraph Settings menu or select the line spacing options. Under spacing, make sure your before and after settings are the same. I recommend setting this to 3 points before and 3 points after, but this varies depending on the context of the table. Inserting tables is easy, but deleting them can trip people up. I think the easiest way to delete a table in Word is to hover the cursor over the table, grab this picker icon in the upper left corner, then select Control X on the keyboard. Another option is to select the table or position your cursor anywhere in it. Go to the Table Layout tab, select the Delete button, then select Delete Table from the drop-down list. My preferred option is to use the Quick Access toolbar. By customizing this toolbar, you can add all the table buttons I have here, along with any others you might find useful. This way you have access to the control features you might need without having to select the tab on the ribbon, which can be helpful.